right? Hello, everybody. I am Drew Duncan. Don't forget, you can find me on social media. That is at Drew Duncan Radio across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube. Simply look for Drew Duncan. Folks, I am super thrilled to have our next guest on the program. You may have seen him on UFC's Tough Contender Series. You may know that he's a 7-2 record right now at middleweight, fighting out of Ontario, getting ready to defend his middleweight championship at the end of this month. His name is Aaron Jeffery, and he is right here with yours truly, Drew Duncan. Aaron, thank you so much for taking a couple of moments to speak with me today.
Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. Aaron, one of the things that I found to be exceptionally fascinating was the last time I checked on you before you went to go be on UFC, you had dropped everything, your job, everything. You decided to move in with your coach. A lot of guys in your situation, while they're on the come up, they continue to work other jobs, but your coaches and trainers all say that all you do is work. So I would venture to guess that you just are a guy who eats, sleeps, drinks, and breathes MMA, and nothing else matters to you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I float around. I used to say I was homeless, but I think a better word for it is probably nomadic. I got a couple places I stay. I got two coaches that are nice enough to both make rooms in their house for me. My mom lives pretty close by too, so I kind of just bounce around a little bit and, yeah, eat, sleep, train pretty much.
Aaron, what is it that drives you when you think about the sport of MMA? Because obviously a lot of people still look at it and go, this is not an art, even though the word art is in mixed martial art, obviously. They still look at it and go, this is a sport of violence and degradation. What is it that you see in this sport that drives you to focus purely on it?
That's a good question, actually. I think I like competition. I would agree with you. A lot of people don't necessarily still see this as a sport. But I think it's the purest form of competition. You're locked in there with another dude and you got to prove who's best. And I think that's why I like it.
I talked to Cub Swanson once, and he said the same exact thing to me that you're saying right now. He believes that is the purest form of sport. Outside of just two guys going into a cage and it's mano a mano, what separates MMA from football, basketball, hockey, rugby, etc.?
Yeah. I think it not being a team sport is huge. Like, you got your coaches in your corner, but you're in there by yourself and you have nobody else to count on other than yourself. So I think that's a huge part of it. Yeah, I don't know, other sports too, all these stick and ball sports, putting the ball through a hoop or using a stick to put something into a net or whatever. It's just not the same.
What do you think people love the most about MMA when they watch it? Because obviously you're coming from a standpoint, right, as a guy who this is what he does. Okay, there are other people that watch it for whatever entertainment value they see in it. What do you think for the most part is the draw to MMA?
I think it's like biologically ingrained in us. Like, even a street fight, you see a fight break out on the street or in a bar or whatever, and everyone's going to look and watch. So now we just have that in its highest form with dudes and chicks that are training to be the best at that. So it's the ultimate form of, like, seeing a fight break out on the street or in public or whatever.
We're talking to Aaron Jeffery right here. I am Drew Duncan. He's got a bout coming up at the end of November in which he will be defending his middleweight championship in his home there in Ontario. One of the biggest things that you've had difficulty with is not being able to fight at home there in Ontario. I know one of the big things that came up when Kawhi Leonard became a free agent after being in Toronto was going through customs and the back and forth going from Canada to the States. What is the biggest roadblock you think you're facing being out there in Canada in terms of being able to find enough people to come to you?
Yeah, well, like, the biggest reason that a lot of guys aren't fighting in Ontario or in Canada in general is the commissions are really tough on it. Like, it got legalized fairly recently in Ontario, like within the last 5 or 7 years, I think. So I think the commissions are still being, like, overly cautious about it. They don't want anyone to get hurt. So there's a ton of medicals you got to go through, and they're super particular about which matchups they're gonna sanction and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with it right now. And then it's also super expensive for the promotions because they have to pay the commission or whatever. So I think there's not a lot of people willing to put on shows right now.
And see, that's the thing to me, Aaron. There are a lot of people that don't realize, because it's so well broadcast now, that it still is a new sport. I mean, we just saw it get legalized right here in the States of New York a couple of years ago. So when we start looking at MMA and how new it is to you, how do you think you continue to grow this sport and make it palatable for a mass audience at all times?
I think just trying to be like a respectable human is the best thing you can do. I think a lot of people view fighters as kind of like savages and, I don't know, like meatheads. So I think to just be like a well-spoken, well-groomed human being is probably the best thing you can do for it.
But not everybody comes from those situations. I mean, you look at some guys that have made it from the streets to where they are. So not everybody's going to necessarily have that well-spoken or that well-to-do that goes along with being a fighter. And I think it was Mike Tyson who even said, being a fighter is something that he feels sorry for fighters because he thinks that it's a poor man's game. It's somebody that absolutely has to have it. I'm hearing something a little different from you. Ultimately, when it comes down to this sport in MMA, what is the biggest thing that, outside of maybe some of the Conor McGregor stuff that we see, or maybe even Jorge Masvidal, when you look at a fighter and you go, this is a guy that maybe we should all aspire to be like in and out of the octagon, who do you look to?
That's a good question, too. I think George St. Pierre was one of those guys when he was still fighting, like super well-respected, well-spoken, didn't talk a lot of trash, anything like that. Yeah, I think there's a lot more guys in the UFC now that are like that. I think it's more common. Probably like 10, 15 years ago when the sport was like very in the Stone Ages, I think there was a lot more kind of meathead guys. But I think as it becomes more of a profession, I think you see a lot more like well-spoken, well-groomed, educated kind of people going into it.
We're talking Aaron Jeffery right here. I am Drew Duncan. He is once again preparing for a bout to defend coming up at the end of this month. Aaron, one of the things that you and I were discussing before we went on air together was your result at UFC when you went on to go Beyond Contender. Wasn't what you want, but you were able to go back, though. Now you have a belt around your waist. What was the biggest thing that you learned from, and how did you grow from that experience and keep yourself motivated? Because to a lot of people, they may lose that fight and go, you know what, this is it for me.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. I wouldn't say like anything like surprised me, or I don't think there was like any. There was not like one big take-home message that I could tell you. A couple like technical things in the fight that I think I messed up that we fixed up in the subsequent training camps. But yeah, it's just another fight, just bigger stage, more eyes on it, but kind of all the same.
Are you having any conversations with Dana White or the UFC right now?
Dana White, no, definitely not. I've never spoken with him. But yeah, it's all up to my manager to sort that kind of stuff out. But yeah, I'm not aware of anything going on right now, but hopefully soon.
So from here, where do you think you go? Are you focused on just defending where you are right now and making a move? Or are you looking to be, you know what, I've already kind of been there. I think that I'm ready now, and I'm looking to make a move as soon as possible?
I'll defend my belt for this next fight here in the local promotion, BTC. And then we'll see what offers open up. But I think probably like a fight maybe in a bigger promotion down the States, like maybe a CES or CFSD or something like that.
LFA, Shamrock is obviously out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Aaron, this is the part of the show where I give my guests an opportunity to say whatever it is that's on their mind. There's literally no wrong or right answer here. The floor is 100% yours, amigo.
Okay, I'd just like to give a big shout out to training partners, coaches, all the guys at Parabellum MMA, Niagara Top Team, Syndicate MMA down in Vegas. They just hosted me for a month, and that was awesome. Yeah, friends, family, thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. Aaron, good luck to you on your upcoming bout coming up at the end of this month, and best wishes to you in all your future fights as well.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, man.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody. He is Aaron Jeffery, defending his middleweight championship coming up at the end of this month in November the 30th. He's going to be in his home area in Ontario, Canada. I'm simply Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.